Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the Live Council Ministers Press Briefing for today, Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning. Good morning to the Prime Minister. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the members of the media. And good morning and a blessed day to the people of St. Martin. I would like to inform that about 1,000 students have now registered to make use of the school busing service provided by the government in the Register and Ride on the School Bus campaign. The campaign, which started on August 2nd, 2021, is an effort of the government to reintroduce school bus cards and to improve on the quality of the school busing service. Although all students are permitted to use the service up until September 2021, only students who have registered and obtained a bus card from the government of St. Martin via their schools will be permitted to make use of the school busing service after September 2021. In order to obtain access to the service, parents and students have been making use of an online registration form, www.stmartingov.org/register and ride. The registration forms solicits information about the students, their parents, and the needs to and from school. All registrations must include an ID or passport of the student and parent or guardian, as well as a photo of the student to be attached to the ID. Parents and guardians are also required to accept the conditions for the support, which indicate minimum standards for behavior of students while making use of the school busing service. The Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports met with the school boards and school management last Wednesday, August 4th, 2021, and parties have agreed to support students and parents of their schools who require assistance to finalize the online registration process. Therefore, parents who are still unable to complete the registrations are requested to inform their child's school and request support. In addition, persons seeking additional information can contact the Register and Ride the School Bus Register team at registerandride@stmartingov.org. Although 1,000 students have been registered to use the school busing service during the last week, the ministry recognizes that some may not have been successful as the system experienced glitches during the past week, some of which are still being resolved by the ICT Department of Government. Persons completing the online registrations are encouraged to use an up-to-date internet browser such as Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, and to be patient in the uploading of images of identification and the student's photo. The registration process is slated to close on August 12th, 2021, which is tomorrow. After this date, we will assess the situation and see the need, if it is needed to continue or not. Therefore, all parents are requested to take the necessary steps and have their child registered to make use of the school busing service provided by the government. Bus cards will be distributed to the schools for each child who has registered as soon as they become available. All students will continue to use the service as per normal until the cards are available to all students who have been registered. The ministry look forward to the continued collaboration with the students, parents, school management, Ministry of TEAT, Ministry of General Affairs, and the Ministry of Justice in the full implementation of this change in the manner in which busing is delivered. I would also like to inform the public that the trip to the Netherlands of our scholarship recipients is progressing well. The students arrived safe and stayed in a hotel where they were able to rest and be briefed about the program of the guidance counselors in the Netherlands. The students will be guided by their guidance counselors and our body for the first and second year of their studies. Today, the students will be brought to their place of residence and will receive assistance from the guidance counselors as to the registration in the place of residence and the opening of bank accounts, orientation, and so forth and so forth. Also on Monday, August 9th, we have had the return to school for this scholastic year. We have had 3 schools with delayed opening, and those are the St. Joseph Primary, the Lionel Connor Primary School, and the Charlotte Brookson Academy. I would like the public to know that we are monitoring the return to classroom and paying very close attention to the developments in regards to the COVID-19 situation on the island. In the next few weeks, we will assess the situation and make adjustments if needed. I also have some sports-related information for you. On Saturday and Sunday, I attended the basketball games at the Sports Auditorium. The tournament which took place was a pre-tournament for the Battle of the Fittest. The teams that participated were Totola, the United States of America, St. Eustatius, and St. Martin. The winner of the tournament was the team of United States, and St. Martin came second in place. The most valuable player was Mr. Omari Thomas. I thank you, and I await any questions.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the floor.
Good morning, Rodlika. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. Good morning to the media. Today, I'd like to start off from the Ministry of Finance with the information regarding the 6th tranche. We have officially been approved for the 6th tranche. We got the letter from the State Secretary Knops that he signed off on the 6th tranche. I believe it's a slight different process now where the Minister of Finance in the Netherlands also has to sign off, and the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, Mr. Mark Rutte, also has to sign off. So this process is now happening. But in either geval, we did our part for the 6th tranche, and we're hoping to receive this soon. In addition, the SRP application opened on August 3rd, and the closing date is August 31st. We will be paying out 3 months. In addition to that, I would like to say that on the last closing date, out of close to 400 applications, we had 148 businesses that only sent in their final documents on the last day, on the closing day. This caused a lot of stress to get things done on time and pay out early. And the last one came in 2 minutes before the closing time. Literally 2 minutes before the closing time, so at 11:58 p.m. So 1/3 of all businesses that are on payroll support had it in the documents, or on the last day, and the last one 2 minutes to the hour. What this causes is that means that we won't be able to pay out as fast as you would want, because then we have the next day after the closing date, businesses asking for the money already. So please, if we can start the process now already. And again, it opened on the 3rd of August and it closes on August 31st. In addition to that, through the Ministry of Finance, we have revamped the government services page. It is now services.stmartingov.org. And we have our first fully online payment system for vehicle tax payments. This is the new way forward for us. We're also asking individuals to make accounts on the page, where in the future your invoices and receipts will be there. An example of this is if you pay your vehicle tax payment now, before you would have to send a bank transfer from your bank to the government, and then we would have to see on our side and come in, and we would have complaints of misinformation and so forth. In this case now, you get your receipt immediately. So as soon as you make your payment, you get your receipt immediately. I'm encouraging persons to make accounts online and start this process, and this will be the future for us as government. We're hoping to have more payments online by December. In the next few months, we'll try to get some more online. In addition to that, you could register for your vaccine online also on the same page, and a few other services that are currently available. And for the Ministry of Finance, that'll be all, Rolika.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Ludmila De Wever, to address you. Minister De Wever, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to you and to my colleague ministers, Prime Minister, members of the press, the viewing and listening public. And just a quick announcement that this is my last press briefing as Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transportation, and Telecommunication. And I have a big smile on my face because I have big plans when I do go to Parliament. But before I go into the announcements from the ministry, I really would like to thank everybody, including my colleagues, especially the Ministry of TEAT, for all of their hard work, all the stakeholders out there that have made this a little over 15 months, I think it's about 16 months, an incredible ride with amazing achievements despite the circumstances of COVID-19. And we can still find all the positives and the accomplishments that we can do as a team together, and that would have never been done without the amazing assistance that I received from the Ministry of TEAT as well as across all the ministries. One of the things, before I go in again to the announcements, one of the things that was said to me last night by a family visiting from Canada was that they like the insurance that the island has because it makes them feel safe. They are concerned that the numbers are going up, but they said what would help their trip even more is if they saw a few more police officers on the road. And I said, well, we do have police officers on the road, but it goes to show that, you know, how important that dialogue is with, especially the people that are visiting your island. And it reminded me that the tourism is something that can only be possible with a strong police force there that makes your population as well as your visitors feel safe. And even in the thanks that I have for everyone, especially even the VSI ministry with their CPS that has actually carried us through this pandemic, managed this pandemic, there are thanks around that has to be shared to everyone. Specifically Chief John and his team that has kept us safe and helped the Ministry of TEAT enforce, and specifically Ryan Peterson and his immigration team, because those two individuals receive calls to me all the time because they are so important to continuing the work of the Ministry of TEAT when it comes to businesses, controlling businesses, keeping us safe, especially as well controlling tourism when they go through with the immigration department. And of course, that wouldn't be done without Minister Richardson, who was kind enough to let me contact all the time her staff to ensure that we had as smooth a process as possible to just elevate and level up and streamline our tourism being processed through the island. So with that, I will go back on my script. This week, the Ministry of TEAT welcomes Ms. Crystal Larmini, who will be heading up the Economic Licenses Department. And we are excited to have her here to make her contribution to that department. At the same time, I would like to remind the public that tomorrow is the deadline for the head of the Statistics Department, just so that anyone that has any intentions to apply, please do so by the end of day tomorrow. August 12th is the final day to apply for the head of the Statistics Department. One of the main key projects that we have been doing in this year is trying to figure out a way that we could streamline the Economic Licenses Department. And that is with the assistance of the Inspectorate of TEAT. There is no way that we could have done that without a study, without going into the details of where the bottlenecks are in the process, and in line with what the Minister of Finance just announced, which is a great announcement of how we're going online, being able to do payments online. The Department of Economic License is in the process of being online as well for applications. One of the things that it is important for the public to know that we are trying to fix is when it comes to operational licenses. There is always a very long time lag between when a business license can be granted and an operational license granted in the sense of businesses are ready to go, but they're delayed because we're waiting for operational license with the process where we have to make an announcement in the newspaper for 2 weeks to see if there's any objections from the public. What we are doing to improve that process is make the announcement happen beforehand. That way we don't have to wait until all of the inspections are done, and then waiting until the document is done and we have to wait an additional 2 weeks for it to go to the public. So we're doing that at the beginning of the process. This will be announced coming out hopefully by the end of this week, if not next week. And I hope that it gives the public a little bit of comfort to know that we are trying our best to make this easier for you, especially when you have those business owners that are just waiting for a paper to be able to fully operate. So we do hear your concerns, and we are trying to fix that. As a reminder for that, I would really like to remind persons that are waiting for an operational license to contact the ministry. There is some instances where persons provided the incorrect contact information, which is why they were not notified that their business licenses are ready, their operational licenses, or they can actually call and verify and do a follow-up to see if they are ready. So just quick reminder there to please do that, because we have a significant amount of operational licenses that are ready to go, where we have sent communication, but the persons have not responded back. Continued reminder is that the economic growth and opportunities must be balanced within the environment that it operates, and being considerate to your surroundings and ensure that noise, garbage, any other source of pollution are serious, and including parking, where customers need to be considerate and take into account the persons around them, the businesses around them. What we are talking in particular is about garbage, about noise pollution, about parking infringements in Front Street. We are in this phase of our country since COVID-19 shutdown that we're continuing to open. And I know I sound like a broken record. We are continuing to opening up more and more, yet the actions that are being taken within our own community is not conducive to allow us to be successful. And today we are welcoming 1,750 persons on Allure of the Seas that was pulling in this morning around 8 o'clock, and they are fully vaccinated for the adult population. The kids follow the same rules that we have everywhere else, and you can imagine that this is such a good sign for our capital, for our Phillipsburg, for all of our business owners, transportation that are going to reap the benefits of this. So we need to continue doing all we can to stay safe, keep our numbers down, and encourage us to continue flourishing in an environment where all of those opportunities are being given to us. The Statistics Department will soon be starting the survey of financial participation of our community that they are executing on behalf of the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin. The training with the interviewers is scheduled for next week, Tuesday to Thursday. However, as much as this survey is needed, it is highly dependent on the outcome of COVID-19. The more our cases go up, the less likely it is that we are able to conduct face-to-face interviews, which will further delay this. So I'm asking our community again to take into consideration that there is a lot that has to continue to take place with face-to-face contact. That, the more our numbers go up, that makes it very difficult for us to do our jobs on a daily basis. Lastly, coming in from the St. Martin Tourism Bureau, there will be a travel agent FAM, as they call it, familiarization program for the duration of 3 months commencing September until November 2021. The main goal of this program is to offer travel agents a listing of special rates from hotels, restaurants, and activity providers, which will entice them to visit St. Martin and experience the product. This program will be promoted amongst the database of True Marketing and the travel databases of Cindy Miller. The online partners are signing up for the 3-month program. Thus far, we have a good mix of hotels, restaurants, and activity providers. The summary of on-island participants are as follows. We have 20 hotels, 6 restaurants and cafes, and 8 activity providers to date. A local press release has also been sent out reminding and informing the community of this program to take place, and other persons are invited to participate as well. SXM Villa Vibes campaign. A tracking code for the display ads was placed on the Villa Vibes website to track the effectiveness of the search engine display ads. An email was sent to property managers of featured articles of the campaign and to track incoming traffic for the campaign for the evaluation period. A press release was also drafted by the team at Diamond PR, and they have been actively pitching the SXM Villa Vibes campaign to trade and consumer packages. For those of you that would like to see what it is, you can go to sxmvillavibes.com. It is done in conjunction with the Tourism Bureau. It is a website featuring fantastic, gorgeous villas on the island. And there's also an available Instagram link for that. Last but not least, I would like to announce that we have actually finalized the Met Radar project. So within the coming weeks, you will have more publications that the Met Radar project that we have been waiting on for 6 years is finally finalized. We will be signing off an agreement with the French government, with Danielle Gibbs, with Mr. Joseph Isaac of the Met Office, and Ms. Arti Baran. I pass on my sincere gratitude to them for working on this for over a year and finally finishing it off this week when the documents were returned from the governor's cabinet. Thank you very much, and I am available for questions.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor, the Honorable Omar Otley, to address you. Minister Otley, you have the floor.
Good morning. Good morning to the members of the media. Good morning to my esteemed colleagues, the Council of Ministers. Today we have 256 active cases. We average 25 to 30 cases a day. Based on the latest results, 100% of these cases were the Delta variant. I remember July 12th, we were at 19 active cases. And I stood right here and I warned the public that 2 of the genotypes were Delta variant. Every week we get up here and we warn the public that the Delta variant is 3 times as potent, spreads 3 times as fast. A month later, we went from 19 to 256 cases. We have had 4 deaths in the past 4 days. The reasons, since we speak about transparency, the reasons that the deaths were reported a couple of days after, I would like to touch on it. On Friday, we lost someone at the SMMC, and they were there due to other circumstances, not COVID related, but had serious underlying conditions. The same thing for the person that passed on Saturday. Unfortunately, they contracted COVID while being at SMMC. After passing, the professionals needed to determine whether the death was due to complications or due to COVID-19. After a couple of days, well, one person was 1 day, the person that was on Friday was 2 days. After those days, it was determined to us, to CPS, that they were COVID related. Unfortunately, on the Sunday, we lost someone too. So once the information was related to us that it was COVID related and not due to complications, we immediately published. I don't hide from anyone. I have nothing to hide if we speak of transparency, because hiding from the public will only endanger the public. As a matter of fact, many persons got upset when I stated that the hospital capacity will soon be overrun. Many persons say, how can you make a statement like that? Well, Curacao at capacity. Aruba's at capacity. Friendside has issues with capacity. Guadeloupe and Martinique have issues with capacity. If you want me to lie to you, then you need another minister, because I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth, the fact in the matter is, we are in the midst of our fourth wave. I have extended the vaccination process, not once, but twice throughout the month of July. We plead, we beg with persons to be vaccinated. And I'm here today to say, if you don't want to be vaccinated, that's on you. I give you your freedom of choice. Everyone has the right and freedom to be vaccinated or not. But if you're going to preach against the vaccination, preach protocols. Preach for persons to go to the GP and do regular checkups. Preach wearing your mask. Preach social distancing. You see, we get so caught up in being against me, or being against the government, that we forget every little thing else. I even hear a person saying that COVID-19 is not real. Tell that to the 38 families that are suffering today. Tell that to the 3,000 plus persons in St. Martin that were infected, actually 3,045 persons. Tell them it's not real. As Minister of Public Health, I will do all that I can to protect the citizens of St. Martin, to protect the persons living in St. Martin. I will do all that I can, but I can only do all that I can. At some point, the responsibility has to be on you, the people. It has to be on you, on the way you carry yourself, the way we conduct ourselves, the way we follow protocols. And if we don't want to be tested, if we don't want to be vaccinated, that's okay. I urge the public to do safety testing. Know your status. Protect yourself and protect those around you. With that being said, that has been my message for the past week. And I must commend the public of St. Martin. They are getting tested. CPS has reported record numbers of persons being tested over the past week. With more testing, we will see more active cases. That's natural. But one thing that makes me happy is that with more testing, that's more persons that know their status. That's more persons that know to stay home, to quarantine. More persons that know to stay away from their family members, stay away from their grandmothers, their mothers. Let's continue to do our part. We can only do it together. I'm not here to fight anyone. I'm not even going to go in the back and forth with you. I believe in vaccinations. I encourage anyone that wants to be vaccinated to do so. You can do so Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4 p.m. at the Vineyard Building at CPS. Those persons that do not want to be vaccinated, you can be tested in point blank every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 11 a.m. On Saturdays, you can walk into the Vineyard Building, the same CPS, from 8 to 12 p.m. I urge everyone to do your part. Let's get over this COVID-19. If you don't want to vaccinate, consider testing. And I want to tell you something. Persons say, I test so much, I don't have COVID. It don't work like that. Unfortunately, you can test today and be infected a couple of days after. So, or the same day. So we ask, consider frequent testing. We have 18 persons in the hospital. 18 with a capacity that's stated to be 16. This is what we're going through. This is the reality. Many persons turn and say, look, vaccinated persons are passing. These persons had serious conditions. Serious conditions. And the vaccine does not give you 100% immunity. But look at the percentage of vaccinated persons compared to unvaccinated persons. That's what we need to do before we talk. And as of right now, one of these persons in the hospital are fully vaxxed. One. So you do the math. So I ask St. Martin to take it serious. We are in the midst of a war, a COVID war. If you look to war with me, I have no time for that because I'm warring with COVID. That is my only enemy right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, to address you. Minister Richardson, you have the floor.
Good morning, Honorable Prime Minister and colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, DCOM, the listening and viewing public. This past Sunday, August 8th, marked the 6th anniversary of the day we lost one of our finest in the line of duty, Officer Gamali Benjamin. I extend wishes of continued strength to his family, friends, and colleagues. At this time, I ask that we kindly take a moment of silence in his honor and remembrance of the brave. Thank you. On Friday, August 6, 2021, my colleague, Minister of Health and Labor, Minister Utley, made a national address and announced the scaling back approach for businesses to close at 11 p.m. This decision was made based on the alarming spike of COVID positive numbers, and as we can see daily, the numbers continue to climb at an alarming rate. Our death toll is now at 38, and I must commend Minister Utley for his delivery a few moments ago. I don't know how much more can be stated about our reality. The opening statements of my colleague further cements the status of our current reality. As such, it should be understood that the decision to scale back is one that is supported by the Council of Ministers and more specifically, the Ministry of Justice, who has the responsibility of enforcement. As such, on Sunday, August 8th, 2021, as Minister of Justice, I signed an updated and adjusted ministerial regulation to maintain restrictions at designated areas. This updated and adjusted decree complements the regulations put in place by the Ministry or Minister of VSA and the Minister of TEAT. This ministerial regulation requires businesses to close at 11 p.m. As was the experience back in June of this year, once these establishments closed, persons took to various public areas to congregate and created scenes that moreover disturbed the peace with nuisance. To not have a repeat of these activities and with absolute effort to get our alarming numbers of COVID numbers down, the Ministry of Justice has matched the ministerial decree of the Ministry of Health, VSA, and the Ministry of TEAT. As such, from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., persons are forbidden to congregate at public places accessible to the general public, such as gas stations, parking lots, sport fields, schoolyards, and beaches. Once again, I reiterate, these measures are taken considering the high number of positive cases, the increased number of deaths, and the limited hospital availability we currently have at the St. Martin Medical Center. Steps and measures must be taken to manage this serious situation that is threatening the health and safety of our residents and visitors here on St. Martin. The police force of St. Martin will be controlling the aforementioned public areas with the authority for or to exercise zero tolerance to all persons who are in violation of the law. Anyone caught violating the law or displaying misconduct will face the consequences of their actions. I believe in the saying, live and let live. And that should be the objective of us all, to be able to live healthy and fruitful lives. I am asking the general public to adhere to COVID protocols, respect and adhere to the laws, and to make informed decisions based on facts. My thoughts and prayers are with the families of those who have passed on, whether due to COVID or otherwise. May their souls rest in eternal peace, and may their families and friends find the strength to cope and carry on. As it relates to the reopening of schools, on Monday, August 9th, 2021, marked the beginning of the 2021-2022 academic school year. Welcome back to all students, faculty, and staff. I also take this opportunity to congratulate all students who opened the school year undergoing the CCSLC exams. I am congratulating you up front because I am confident you have all done and executed a job well done. I would like to encourage all students to focus on your studies and do your best. Make this school year a fun and positive experience where you are able to achieve, excel, and win academically and, of course, socially. I encourage you to be respectful to your teachers, peers, classmates, and parents. While it is important to build on your knowledge and skills, it is equally important to build friendships. As such, I urge you to never resort to violence, but to continue to display a high level of obedience, whether it may be inside or outside of the classroom. I encourage parents to register your child or children in positive after-school activities such as sports, tutoring, job trainings, and volunteerings to keep their mind and time focused on a successful life. As a reminder, the enforcement of no loitering around school areas will be maintained for this school year. The Ministry of Justice will be closely monitoring school fights and complaints of bullying. There will be consequences for persons who are instigating, initiating, and taking part in harmful actions against students and/or others on or around school districts. The bullying and violence against children must stop, and it has our attention to be dealt with. As a final note, I would hereby like to remind the general public to host a public event such as parades, marches, and/or demonstrations of any kind on the public roads of Dutch St. Martin. You must acquire a permit to do so. Later on today, a publication will be shared with the media online, or rather outlining the requirements and where to apply should a person or an organization wish to host an event. Thank you for your attention, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Relaika. Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleague ministers, members of the press, both here and following via social media, and of course to the general viewing public. Speaking last, after all the colleagues that have spoken, I've decided, also seeing the amount of information shared, not to go into depth into all that I had planned. I did send forth just yesterday a couple of press releases. I'd like to reiterate that shortly, related to back to school, that I wish each and every child, parent, teacher, and school-related official all the best for 2021, 2022. We are definitely in a trying period, but we know what it takes to stop spread. Panic does not stop the spread. We all know what we have to do. There was a lot of fun made last year when we had to move to a lockdown. No one wants that. Not a single person on St. Martin wants our economy to stand still again. We are blessed within this Caribbean to be moving forward, and it is a blessing indeed that our children can go back to school. With our minds and our hearts on these same children, I think it behooves each and every one of us to maintain those very good protocols that we know can work. You don't need a law to tell you wear your mask. You don't need a law to tell you to keep a distance from people whose status you do not know. And when you engage in risky behavior, think about the people you love, and at least when you return home, protect them. The same things we have been saying for the past 15 months are still valid today. And as an educator, I know you have to hear things repeatedly in order for them to become the norm. And we were there. We went right down. Every time we had a spike, we were able to control it in time. But this new spike is related to Delta. And why do we have a Delta? I'm not a medical professional, but I have been following this virus, as should all of us. And every professional is saying the same thing. As long as there are more unvaccinated persons out there, there will be more variants. And with each variant, it is more deadly and it spreads more quickly. Those are the facts. For those out there saying the virus doesn't exist, that is utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. And as a government, we have been keeping you informed. In the beginning, it was said, impossible. Those numbers aren't correct. Now that you have real numbers, you're making other statements. When do we get more accurate numbers? When more people test. We can say we have over 3,000 persons, but trust me, I know it's more than that have been infected with COVID-19 because many did not go forward and get tested. So I'm asking you, I'm imploring you to think of yourself, think of your families, and think of upholding all our protocols. Be a clicker. Tell if you see businesses not adhering to protocols. If you walk into a business where the owners are not adhering to protocols, then they don't deserve your money. It's as simple as that. We've been getting complaints that certain establishments don't have the mask wearing that is necessary. There was even a chance that people want to say, oh, don't allow children to go to school. Let's not come to work. What will happen then? We have been here before. So I want to especially wish all those teachers and students that are in school today, those that will start next week and in the weeks coming based on their different schedules, much success. Your education is our priority, and as government, we're doing everything to ensure your safety. Parents and guardians, I wish you much strength as well, because you are the ones that have to train your children at home on how to be in school in this new normal. Yes, provide them with the necessities, but as schools and establishments, we also must ensure that it's a safe environment for our children. Learning is our priority. I have seen how children have suffered from not being able to be in contact, not with just teachers, but with their friends. Social community is necessary for healthy growth. Please do all you can to be safe at home, on the streets, and at school. As I also mentioned in press release, the 4 countries of the kingdom have come to an agreement as to the amendments needed for the COHO law, and it will be handled in Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting on September 3rd. In the meantime, all 3 Caribbean countries have agreed that they will still send it on to their Council of Advice for advice before this law comes to the parliaments of St. Martin, which is, of course, after the September 3rd handling. I would not want the people of St. Martin to be dissuaded by those who would seek to jump on bandwagon to have something to say. There is a process to be followed with the handling of laws, and the parliaments of St. Martin will have their time to debate it to the full extent. This will be after they receive it after September 3rd. So don't let anyone fool you as to what has happened. Nothing is yet set in stone. Once we get our advices, we will then, of course, prepare to give any responses as necessary when we go to the Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting. Our representative goes on September 3rd. We have contributed highly to the changes. We have gotten, I can't say we got everything we want, but in a 4-way conversation, there will have to be compromise, and our legal teams have fought valiantly, united, to be able to make sure that any of the unauthorized portions have been diminished or removed. So I thank them from the bottom of my heart on behalf of the people of St. Martin for their diligent work. There was also a press release about Grid Market, which many people are asking questions about, but I'd prefer then to have a more press conference with the persons involved at a later date. Suffice it to say that this is a process that started a long time ago, since I first came into office, and it was brought to my attention by the Department of Buck. They are the ones that are out there based on our national development vision, on our governing program, looking for opportunities whereby we can get the necessary research. So Grid Market will be working together with GEBE, VROMI, TEAT, IRP, and the Ministry of General Affairs, bringing all their data together to seek solutions and opportunities to ensure that our government can move toward a more clean, resilient, sustainable, and affordable energy production for the people of St. Martin. It will take some time. GB is under no obligation to take the suggestions, but if these suggestions and this research comes forth and it is sustainable and affordable for us on St. Martin, of course, the government will be encouraging that as we move forward, as well as any and all other providers to be more sustainable and resilient. Before closing off, I would like to remind that we are in hurricane season. We did experience some rain and thunder, etc., yesterday as a result of the tropical system that was passing to the south of us. We must remain vigilant at all times, as of course we're also dealing with COVID-19. We have the known cases at 256, I believe, was mentioned. We've noted several more deaths. All the deaths that we have experienced on St. Martin have been due to underlying conditions. Persons with serious underlying medical conditions, such as diabetes, heart conditions, cancer, high blood pressure combined with some of the others. Those have been the persons who predominantly, obesity also, predominantly have led to serious suffering and death. But not only that, I think not enough attention has been paid to the persons who have recovered. Many persons were ill, seriously ill, and recovered, but nobody's talking about their diminished health as a result of having had COVID-19. Even persons, it has been medically proven, who have no symptoms, tested positive but didn't have any suffering whatsoever, down the line, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, they are also noticing deteriorating health, whether it's with their lungs, their kidneys, and other organs. This is a very serious disease. So we cannot play around with it. We cannot be out there with that propaganda that it doesn't exist. We must do our best to protect everyone. Do not allow religious beliefs or even political beliefs to feel that this government or any government is trying to track you, put a chip in you, or any of the nonsense that is being put out there. From the time we were children, we have been vaccinated. And why have we been vaccinated as children? Against polio, against diphtheria, against all these other viruses and diseases. It's because of something like this that happened tens, 20, 30, hundreds of years ago. If we go back in history, we will see there was a period of 2 years that because of the Spanish flu, that the world wore masks. Today we are traveling more. Today we have more information, and so there is no excuse. So I urge each and every one, even as government ensures from our side that the protocols we've instituted so that businesses could be reopened last year are upheld and strengthened, diminishing large crowds, cutting back on nightlife for the time being. It is up to you and me and all of us to do what we have to do every day. I urge you, do not be complacent, protect yourselves and family, and keep up with our protocols. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, August 11, 2021. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. However, as we are cut short on time, we will only have one round of questions. Bibi Haj Shah of SMN News, you have the floor.
Good morning, Rulaika. Thank you. Good morning, colleagues, ministers. I will direct my question directly to the Prime Minister and the Minister of VSA. And Prime Minister, the reason I'm directing this question to you, as well as the Minister of Health, you held this mantle last year, starting March 2020, when we had our first case on St. Martin. So you know exactly what Minister Utley is dealing with. My question to you, has the Council of Ministers, considering what took place at the St. Martin Medical Center, 2 people has lost their life. They weren't there because of COVID-19. They were there for other reasons, contracted this disease from medical staff, and today are dead. Their family are mourning their loss. Has the government discussed the possibility to making vaccinations mandatory for healthcare workers? Has the government even discussed with their coalition partners, just as it is on the front side? The front side, it's mandatory for healthcare workers. Now that this happened on St. Martin, 2 people dead, because of carelessness of healthcare workers who chose not to take the vaccine, who chose to listen to the propaganda and not to the facts. These are healthcare workers doing this, not the little boys on the road or the little girls. So I'm asking you, has government taken the bull by its horns and say, let's make this vaccine, at least for healthcare workers, mandatory? Minister Otley, as a follow-up to this very question when you answer the first
Baby,
part,
unfortunately,
has the SMMC
Baby,
foreseen a
unfortunately,
legal-
as we are
a
pressed for
legal case
time,
against them?
I would have to just allow that one question. We are really pressed for time as we only have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Relika.
It's a two-part question, Roleka. I want to know if the SMMC...
Ms.
I
Sure.
understand that, but please understand we are pressed for time. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relika. I believe the minister was quite clear when he mentioned mandating at this time vaccinations is not something that we are doing. Vaccination remains a choice at this point. You're dealing with the rights of persons. However, when you look at the laws and you look at litigation around the world, you will see that the right to health, the right to live, outweighs those rights. There are other protocols that can be put in place and should be in place. And I think it is a bit premature to stick the blame on any one person for what may or may not have happened at the medical center. That medical center puts the cause of death at COVID-19 is, you might want to say, a concession of guilt. However, I do believe before I left on my vacation that I heard an announcement being made by the medical center that there would be no more visitors allowed. I do not have the particulars, the information related to the 2 cases that have been mentioned as being non-COVID related upon entry and contracting COVID. Do we know whether this happened before or after the visitation stopped? So there's a lot more of investigating that needs to be done before anything conclusively can be said as to where it was, let's say, shed or picked up. And I think we should allow the investigation to take place. This took place over the weekend. We do not know at what point the person's contracted. We do not have that information because COVID cases remain completely confidential when it comes to government. So I would like to give the medical center and its team the opportunity to do the necessary investigations, as well as whether it's a legal investigation that need to take place, and let that take its course. As a Council of Ministers, of course, we've had several deliberations on this, and seeing the high emotional context, we see the protests going on in many countries. We cannot afford that kind of negative energy whilst we are busy with all our energy fighting this disease. So right now, our energy is focused on protecting our people. If not vaccination, the minister and this Council of Ministers is encouraging testing as often as possible. Once any, let's say, legal trajectory that needs to be finalized for that is done, that will be announced via the Ministry of VSR. I don't have to speak for the Minister of VSR. And that is why all who are calling on the Prime Minister to come out and say something at this point, all I can say is in support of the Ministry of VSR. We have not taken a decision as a Council of Ministers, nor have I as a Minister of General Affairs in charge of disasters to call any type of state of emergency because we know what needs to be done. It is because of a lack of compliance over the last few weeks, coupled with high visitation. It's summer. A lot of people are returning home. A lot of residents have taken vacations, gone out, and come back in. We were also not testing our residents coming back in. So these are things that we can close on. We can limit that, increasing the testing to return to the island. This is another way. I visited another island with seriously strict protocols, and I'm seeing that you can live freer once you have stricter protocols to enter. And while we do not want to diminish persons from wanting to come to St. Martin, if we do not get this under control, they won't come anyway. So we have to figure out what are the right steps to take without killing our economy and preserving the health of our people. So several steps are being taken to make sure the measures are taken to protect our people, and I would prefer that we not go into any insinuations further as to what may or may not have occurred at the hospital and allow the investigations to take place. I believe I can commend the minister for being quite open and transparent with what has taken place, and we will continue to follow up to ensure that this can no longer be the case. But I know for a fact that this is exactly why the hospital asked for no more visitors to come to the hospital, because we could not ensure that they were not bringing the virus in as well. We would like also all those types of entities, hospital, White and Yellow Cross, and others that are caring for sick and elderly, to ensure the highest level of protocols are in place for their staff as well as for anyone that has to come into the facilities.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Ralph Cantab of Phillipsburg Broadcasting. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to everyone in the room. My question is for the Minister of VSA in relation to further data being published for public consumption in terms of, have CPS identified and is it able to be shared that, for example, we can know the age range between those who are predominantly being tested as active, the cluster locations, and so forth.
Before I start, I'd like to make one announcement. Prime Minister touched on it. As of next week, Monday, August 16th, residents, even fully vaccinated, are required to perform a test to enter to St. Martin. This is a measure that we need to take right now, and until we get everything under control. So we will now be reversing that decision that where residents used to enter, fully vaccinated residents of a period of 2 weeks or more could have entered St. Martin without testing, will now require a test, whether it be antigen or PCR. To answer your question, Mr. Cantab, yes, we do have that information. Unfortunately, we cannot give out the information of the cluster. Predominantly, we see that the virus is affecting persons, I like to say mid-age. The senior citizens, they are at a low percentage, but however, once affected, we know that the results of serious illnesses are high. So therefore, that's the reason that the government, VSR by extension of the government, take decisions sometimes with nightlife and etc., because we look at the age group that is being infected, and based on doing contact tracing, we then identify the source and we act accordingly based on that information given to us.
Thank you, Minister Otley, and thank you, Ralph, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question I'm going to target to the Justice Minister and the Minister of Health. Minister, can you just clear the air? Because I realize that people are getting personal with you. And I know the ministers have contact with CPS. So clear the air that the people can understand enough about you. You do not make the final and give the final analysis and the different condition with the vaccine and the COVID guideline. And also,
excuse me, Lyndon, we just have to allow one question. Time is limited. I would allow the minister to answer.
Well, Mr. Brown, I'm not the only one that comes up with the COVID guidelines and the vaccine regulation. But the final decision is taken by the minister. I consult our stakeholders and I go with the best decision at heart. However, as you stated, and as I have stated, any decision that I make, I can stand by. I don't make decisions based off of popularity or decisions based off of Facebook. I make decisions based, when I sleep at night, I can assure that I did the best possible thing that I can for the public of St. Martin. Some will agree and some won't, but that's called life. At the end of the day, I hope that those that don't agree will see that, okay, I understand why he did what he did, as opposed to trying to please everyone, and at the end of the day, we end up in a black hole where we can't get out of. So any decision that I make, I can stand by.
Thank you, Minister Otley. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean of PJD2 Radio. You have the final question.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning. To the Prime Minister, good morning to you, Ministers, as well. I will quickly direct my question to the Minister of TR. Minister, undoubtedly, COVID-19 has affected us in one way or the other, in that we're able to effectively execute our work. Now that you're leaving the ministry to head to Parliament, is there anything in particular that you would have loved to achieve that you did not? And what would be your advice from here on to your successor?
Thanks, Mr. Cerulean, for the question. I'm going to start with the last part first. The most important thing for any minister is to understand the importance of their support system, which comes from their ministry. That should be their guiding, as well as their guiding light, I guess. That should be the persons they're part of the continuity of government. They're the ones that are the experts in their fields, the experts in their departments, and they know what they need to continue facilitating and helping people in their role as whatever ministry it is. I've relied heavily on the expertise of the ministry staff, the civil servants within this ministry, and again, like I said earlier on in the opening statement, across the different ministries, and I can go directly at Secretariat of COM, as well as DIV, as well as even the front desk staff and security. These are the people that I've had to deal with on a daily basis to help me to do my work, in addition to the ministry staff. So my advice to the successor is, while we have a governing program and a vision that is guiding this government, that has to be done in conjunction with the ministry that is the continuity of government. And if you do it in a vacuum with your own personal agenda, you will fail, because you rely on that fourth pillar, which is the civil servants. They are as equally important as any plan that any government has. And the first part of your question was, what did I wish that I covered? I will like to remind the public, I think it's a valid question. This government, this Council of Ministers under Prime Minister Jacobs' two cabinet, as we call it, has been dealing with something outside our normal responsibilities as government, as ministers, which is COVID-19. So not only do we have to go about our regular responsibilities, our regular workload, we have an additional workload on here that is putting an enormous amount of pressure on every single person that is operating, every single person that is existing. So the point that I'm trying to make here is it has made this, since March 28th of this government, it's made it that much more difficult to do your job, because you're trying to deal with keeping people safe across all ministries as well at the same time, people working from home. So I'm actually extremely proud of the government that I have been part of. And I hope that, and I know and I have faith that they will continue doing that. So in a short answer now to your question of what I wish I could complete, which is the one item that it took a long time to get there, but it's also where we are struggling in terms of personnel, is the finalization of the the mapping out of the nature, like the marine park areas. So it is matching exactly what the French side has for boats going over to the French side on the Dutch side. So the French side has their areas marked out, and we have a dialogue that was started between the Nature Foundation and the Maritime Affairs that needs to be completed and supported with legislation, which is why I had 2-3 weeks ago legislation prep by the ministry of where we need to take it on to Parliament to continue pushing it forward. The reason that I say it's important that that is completed is because you see the dialogue that's happening. COVID-19 showed us where we had to improve. So while improvement was done with maritime affairs in the sense of giving certificates to boats to basically be on par with international regulations, what we are missing still is to ensure that we have an extra revenue source through proper mapping of where we can actually charge boats that enter our waters. And that is the one item I wish I could have finished, and I didn't, but there's a way that we can continue it from Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Cerillion.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Minister Edion?
Yes, thank you. Like a couple points that I forgot in my introduction, but also more motivated so because of Minister Otley, Minister Vesa. And I think that he's doing a very good job under the circumstances to be very composed and so forth. But over the weekend, during the week, late night, early mornings, I get a lot of calls from the minister on where we're going to find funds for certain things. And I think the public needs to understand that this pandemic, we didn't budget for a lot of things in this pandemic. A lot of unforeseen things are happening. And earlier this year, or even when we started Home Important, it was a good sign for me. I was very happy to see that we were having some type of normalcy again. And now it almost feels as if we're going back to 2020 again. And this means a lot of unforeseen budget movement and costs. He mentioned 18 persons in the hospital, I believe, where we only have 16 beds available, which would mean we have to find some type of isolation area again. And this cost a lot of money last year because you have to then replicate being a hospital, which means providing food, providing security, providing care, cleaning before and after. This comes at a cost. This means we have to take it out of a budget and departments that had to execute other tasks that we are dependent on, and now we just stop those, right? And at times, we have to take it out of other ministries because the Ministry of Vesa is already tapped out because of the pandemic. And then we get questions about, like this is just simple things about road patching and so forth, which is also important, don't get me wrong, but these budgets get tapped out because of these circumstances. So as the minister mentioned before, we have to look at following basic protocols, the mask wearing, hand washing, hand sanitizing. As simple as it may seem, these are effective improvement. And lastly, I would like to say thank you to my colleague Minister Tia Lumina DeWeaver for her service in the Council of Ministers. I know at times you would say I was very stringent, but you always understood, and we always found ways to solve the issues. And even when at times you had to do them yourself, I think that we worked well together. And I saw the laws, I've seen the laws and policies that you are working on, and I hope that these are followed through and executed. And I look forward to your big plans, as you mentioned, in Parliament. That'll be all, Relaika.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent in writing to the Minister's Cabinet. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV channel 115. For video on demand, log on to the official YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Relaika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.